this league for over a decade. He can get you buckets. They could have used him in Miami. He also played 2.5 years with the Celtics. So you're wearing your Celtic gear. I went to a party last night with 90% Celtic fans, and they were getting very nervous down the stretch. But it's an amazing tradition. So did you like playing for the Celtics? They ask a lot of their players. They ask you to be committed. The media's rough. The fans can be rough. Did you like playing in Boston?
Yeah, I love my time there. And the team that I played with, we were a different a cast of characters. I think the best way to put it, it was like the most hood team that I ever was a part of. Like everybody from top to bottom were alpha males. Everybody was we held each other accountable, even down to Brian Scalabrine and Scott Pollard. Guys that you wouldn't think everybody rubbed off on each other. We held each other accountable, but it started at the top with Paul, with Ray, and with Kevin. Those guys leading the way, and we all follow suit. I mean, Kevin was the hardest working player that I ever been around. To be the best and had made all the money that he had already made. He was first there, last out, hardest working in the weight room, and everybody had to follow suit after that.
So I look at this Boston team, and when Marcus Smart is hitting jumpers, they're a really good team. I get that about every third or fourth game. I just don't think they can engineer enough offense to beat Golden State. That's my takeaway is they'll beat Golden State when Marcus scores. And I bet 2 games in this series, Marcus gives you 22. That's when they're really tough. I don't know but he doesn't do that 3 and 4 games. So I think this is a tough matchup. How do you view this series before it starts?
I think it's going to be a great series. Number one, Marcus doesn't necessarily have to score. I think the way you look at the series against the Heat, and I've been preaching this. I do work with NBC Sports Boston. I do the pregame, halftime, and postgame. And what I've been saying since the beginning of these playoffs is take care of the basketball. When Boston takes care of the ball and give themselves a chance to score and not just turn it over with careless turnovers, because a lot of them are unforced. They're just careless and misreads and things like that. If they take care of the ball, they got people that can score. But then they're so good defensively that they can hold teams down. So I think this is going to be one of those great series. It's going to be a drag-out series. But one thing they can't do, they can't turn the ball over against the Golden State Warriors because, like, Miami was coming back at the end of that second quarter, end of the first half, and then again at the end of the fourth quarter, making a run. You can't do that against the Warriors. Those are going to be threes falling, and they're coming from a bunch of different guys. You got Poole is playing outstanding. We already know what Steph and Clay can do, and Andrew Wiggins has emerged as a guy who is extremely dangerous. So you got 4 guys that are super capable of putting a team on their back and knocking you out of a game like that because of the way they can shoot that ball.
Steph Curry's, it's interesting. Steph is not like a lot of the stars that have preceded him. He doesn't need to have the most shots. He welcomed in KD. He stepped back. And that's weird. We like our athletes to be alpha. And Steph's a little different. Even when he came out with his shoe line, it was like, that's what a pharmacist wears. That doesn't look like an NBA shoe. He's just a different cat. And I think I appreciate you can't put him in any box. It's funny. A lot of people feel like he's got to win an MVP in these finals to define him. And I'm like, I kind of feel like he's an all-timer. How do you view Steph's lack of MVP in the finals? That he's never been the guy in the finals. Does that bother you at all?
Well, don't let the smooth taste fool you. Steph is an alpha out there. He is a dog, number one. You don't become an MVP in this league and be as great as he has been for so long without being a dog. He is a nice guy off the court, but on the court, he just goes about his business. But I think that year that Andre Iguodala won it, you could make a strong case to say Steph got robbed.
Yeah.
So I would say that, to define his legacy, it would be great. It'll be another notch on his belt. But Steph has changed this game. He revolutionized the way people play it. I look at these kids coming to the gym now. First thing they want to do is shoot 30-foot threes instead of starting right and building out. I'm still old school. I start inside and I build out, even though I can knock down in 30-foot threes too. But I start in and out. These kids come right in, and it's because of what Steph Curry has done and how he's revolutionized the game. He's changed the game forever. So no matter what, if he gets a final, I think more important than a finals MVP will be another finals championship. I think we talk about stacking championships over individual accolades. It'll be great to have that finals MVP, but he has a couple regular season MVPs, and you start putting that with more championships. I mean, I think his legacy is already etched in stone.
So, Jimmy Butler averages 21 a game, and yet when he really scores is in the postseason. And, Eddie, it doesn't usually work that way. Usually players are good, and they get to the postseason, and they're a little less efficient because the defense is better, and the coaching is better, and the players are better. Butler's the opposite. He's greater in the playoffs. And I don't know if you ever played with a guy like that. He's not an elite shooter. He's not a great scorer. He may be one of the best competitors in the sport. And I don't know who to comp him to. If you ever played like a guy that you knew you could outscore him or outshoot him, but, man, there is something about some guys put the uniform on in big games, and you just know. I would call them foxhole guys. You want them in the foxhole. They will be there to the last minute. Who can you even compare Butler to in your 11-year NBA career?
Really nobody, because he does it in different ways. I call him a dog, a savage, because no matter what, he's out there. He's a gamer. Like you said, he's the ultimate competitor. Even Eric Spoelstra said that. This guy competes. He does it in so many different ways. He does it mid-range. I think what he does best, though, in the playoffs, especially when the game slows down, he finds that matchup. And I think the matchup against the Celtics was Derek White. And he was constantly going at Derek White, and that's where he was getting his rhythm. And once you get a rhythm and you're that good, then it doesn't matter who starts guarding you after that. But he was seeking out Derek White, feeling that he had a favorable matchup, and it showed that he did. And, I mean, he does it on both sides of the court. And just when you got a guy who is so determined to win and does whatever it takes to win, he's a gamer. He just steps up in all of the big moments. I mean, they just didn't have enough. Like, he stepped up, and if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't even be in this situation. I think it'll be a 4-1 series. But he literally put them on their back 2 games, and then last night was this close to winning Game 7. Just missed that shot. A lot of people want to talk about the shot. I have no problem with that shot because at the end of the day, he was rocking and rolling, and they wouldn't even been in that position without him. So he felt that was the shot to take. You got to live with it.
My takeaway is I like the Warriors over the Mavs because I thought they could throw a lot of bodies at Luka, and Luka would still get his 35, but he wouldn't be nearly as efficient. Whereas Phoenix basically had to throw Mikal Bridges at him, and that was kind of it. And so he shot 48% against the Suns. He shot 41% against the Warriors. And I kind of feel like if you take Jayson Tatum out of his rhythm, he'll get his 26. But I would put Wiggins on him. I'd put Draymond on him. Otto Porter maybe. And I would just keep throwing guys at him, fresh guys, and he'll get his 26, but it'll be an inartistic, ugly 26. And that kind of is the series to me. I don't think you can stop the Warriors. The way they cut and move, they can take your big guys out of it. They're hard to defend. I just kind of feel like the same way I did about Dallas is that I think the Warriors can make it more difficult for Tatum than the Celtics defense can make it for most of the scores for the Warriors, and therefore I like Golden State. Your thoughts and your prediction?
Wait, I know you just didn't compare the Celtics to Dallas. Is that what you just did?
Kind of. A little.
Stop it, Colin. They're not the same team at all. First off, let's do this. Let's just match up the teams, okay? Let's just match them up. Jayson Tatum, Steph, you can wash those, right? You go Clay and Jaylen Brown, probably could wash those. And then what you got, Poole and Wiggins. I think you look at Marcus Smart, and then you got guys like Grant Williams who can guard, who can switch. I think when you look at our bigs are better. I think we're a little better at our big position. We can switch everything. We showed that we have the depth to switch, then we can play defense. It doesn't matter who we're playing against. I know there's not a Kevin Durant walking through that door for Golden State. We locked that up, right? There's not a Giannis walking through that door over there at Golden State. Giannis had his way a bunch of the games. But Giannis is going to have his way all the time. I think this is a good matchup for the Celtics. It's going to be a great matchup for their defense, right? They're a really great defense against a good offense, which is going to make for a great series. There's going to be a lot of back cutting. That's all you got to play. You got to play for the back cuts and the split screens. And how you do that, how you defend that, we have length on the perimeter. We have length down low. We can guard, we can move our feet, but then we also contest and protect the rim. You got to switch to bodies. And that's all it is. If you look at what Golden State did in all of these series, especially that Denver series, it was back cut after back cut after back cut. And if you know you're playing a team like that, you have to be prepared for it. And if you're prepared for it, you're going to push everything out on the perimeter. Then you're going to have to sit down and guard. And I think we got guys that can guard. Everybody that can step on that court for the Celtics, they can guard. And it doesn't matter who's out there in front of them, they can guard and they have length. So I don't think it's going to be as much of a cakewalk as you think it's going to be, because that's not the Dallas Mavericks. The Celtics are not the Dallas Mavericks at all.
Are you worried about Boston's inexperience and the Warriors' surplus of experience in big games?
No, because at some point you got to get there. The Warriors didn't have experience until they had experience. They've been knocking on the door. This is the first time they got to the final. I think they've been to 4 Eastern Conference Finals. They've been knocking on the door trying to get there, right? So they have some experience in big games. They just haven't been able to get over the hump. And let's not forget, these are some young guys right here. So to have that invaluable experience at such a young age, I mean, Jayson Tatum could be the best player on the floor, and he needs to be for the Celtics to win, right? Jaylen Brown could be one of the best players on the court, and he needs to be. Marcus Smart could be the best defender, perimeter defender. Rob Williams can be the best rim protector. So now you're talking about a really, really stout defense and a very versatile offense, because Jayson Tatum could pull you out. He's a 3-level scorer. Jaylen Brown's a 3-level scorer. Al Horford, he's invaluable. He's a guy like Draymond, could get it off the rim and push it, and he makes the right play. So it's not going to be as easy as people think. I think it's going to be one of these fantastic, great series that is going to go down in history as one of the best finals that we've seen in a long time.
Eddie House, 11 years, former NBA great. Good seeing you, bud.
Nice seeing you too, guys.